is ready for battle.
Definitely one of Pro Magic's most extroverted personalities.
Absolutely. He doesn't hide anything.
A talker.
To say the least. He is a little, I don't want to say he plays slow. What's the nice way of saying someone plays slow? Methodical?
Methodical,
yeah.
Thoughtful, patient.
It's those buzzwords.
Right.
I will
Ponderous.
Say, yes.
That's
yes.
that's starting to get into slightly insulting territory.
A bit of a pun there as well.
Yeah.
Given that Ponderous in his deck. Major's going to start off here with a Volcanic Island, and we are underway between Majors and Martell, round number 6. Both these players sitting here at 5-0. If you like Blue Decks and Legacy, you've come to the right place because there are going to be a lot of these moving forward. Martell going to sacrifice Blue to Delta. It's time to go searching for a land. Wouldn't surprise me as a Volcanic Island. We'll see what he opts to do. As he has Major's 4 copies of Treasure Cruise in his deck. So he is kind of a Jeskai Stoneblade, Jeskai Delver-esque deck, though. Better to classify it as Stoneblade, though, as he does not have any copies of Delver Secrets in his deck.
And this is a type of deck that we've seen Michael Majors have a lot of success with on the Open Series. So definitely a fan of Stoneforge Mystic alongside True Name Nemesis. Pretty potent combination of cards.
There is a beautiful Volcanic Island there for Martell. This is a Gataxian Probe, going to pay 2 life, so he's going to go down to 17 in the process. And Majors, well, might be time for him to reveal that grip in just a second. And he will. You'll see a Lightning Bolt along with a Probe, a Spell Pierce, a Flooded Strand, along with a Tundra, and a Young Pyromancer. Of note here, Patrick, not casting the Gataxian Probe on turn number 1.
Yeah, he wants to save that to be able to trigger his Young Pyromancer on his second turn. Pretty straightforward stuff. Tom playing the land before alternate casting the Gataxian Probe to make sure that Michael doesn't have the opportunity to daze him. You're going to see this at the top level, people going out of their way as much as possible to play around Daze. It's a card that, when it's good, it's the best card in Legacy, but you do have the ability to work around it to some extent.
Martell wants to make sure he knows exactly the contents of the grip here for Majors. So Majors will lay down the Probe, the Spell Pierce, the Bolt, the Tundra, the Flooded Strand, and the Young Pyromancer again. Tom trying to figure out how he wants to lead out with his turns. He's got a Swift Spear and a Delver Secrets in hand.
He knows he's playing against a Lightning Bolt too, so.
And we talked about the methodical nature of Martell. He is rather slow in plotting when he is playing a match of Magic, but to his credit, the decision-making process for him, he rarely gets it wrong.
When you're slow and bad, that's unacceptable.
Yes.
But Tom is slow and very good, so that's okay.
There's a Swift Spear. We're into the red zone now. Will there be a Bolt here? Something for Majors to think about.
So the decision tree here is he doesn't want to get his Bolt dazed, or maybe he doesn't. But if Tom dazes the Bolt, that means the Young Pyromancer's in the clear.
Majors will draw. Stoneforge Mystic is what he's found. Now it's the game gets so interesting now because, you know, before his play may have been straightforward with Young Pyromancer. Now it's like, do I want to play this? Do I want to play Stoneforge? There's a Daze.
Also, do I want to Gataxian Probe before I play the Young Pyromancer to see what's going on in Tom's hand? Do I save it and hope that it just resolves?
Major still hasn't cast that Gataxian Probe yet. A free spell we oftentimes see on turn number 1. We saw it from Martell. And Major's very patient.
At this point, Michael's turn was absorbed. He has no mana left over. So I think he wants to save the Gataxian Probe for a spot where he's either getting a spell trigger or he really wants to know the information of Tom's entire hand. There's no point in Gataxian Probing now, not following up with anything, and then Tom's draw step is a mystery, and maybe that messes up the play you're going to make the following turn.
There's Volcanic Island. Tom reaching into Delver Secrets. It's an attack for 1 with the Swift Spear. Major's down to 18. And that'll be Martell's turn. Over to Majors we go. Force Will the draw. There's a Strand. This is a Stoneforge Mystic.
And this is a great proactive line here from Michael. He's already bled out 1 counter from Tom, and if Batterskull gets into play against Blue-Red Delver, it is all sorts of trouble.
And we've seen it earlier today. Batterskull getting to play against Owen Turton while playing Blue-Red Delver. He was not able to overcome it. Got Peter Ingram low both games, so 1 hit changed everything. The trigger on Stoneforge, it's time to go searching. Batterskull or GTA, the options here for Majors. There is Batterskull.
Michael just going for broke here.
Yep.
He has some tools to protect the Stoneforge Mystic. He has a Spell Pierce in hand. I believe he's picked up a Force of Will. And if Michaels knows the matchup here and Tom's opening is a dead giveaway, he's on Blue-Red Delver, the Monastery Swiftspear gives away everything, then Michael knows he can push this Batterskull into play, and that's going to be a game win, most likely.
And with the draw of Force of Will, it looks like he's able to protect it quite well. Force of Will removing that Gataxian Probe that he has refused to cast. Also has a copy of Spell Pierce in his hand. Spell Pierce, a card that's actually been trending downward in Legacy recently. So Martell will take a look at the top cards. Chain Lightning. That'll flip the Delver into Insectile Aberration, and that's his draw for the turn.
Tom rolling up the sleeves, too.
It's time to get dirty.
Yeah, he needed that. Needed a removal spell. Already had a bolt, but wants a backup one, so if he loses the fight over the lightning bolt, he at least has backup. Because Tom knows the danger here, too. If this Batterskull gets into play, he's going to be hard-pressed to win.
Priority number 1, get that Stoneforge Mystic off the table. The Chain Lightning that was revealed is going to go after Stoneforge.
It's so funny, I got an opportunity to talk with Tom in between rounds. He said, Stoneforge Mystic's so bad right now, not even good against the blue-red decks because they just bolt it and you're stuck with a Batterskull in your hand. And this may be a spot where Michael's able to protect his Stoneforge Mystic and then Batterskull kills him. We'll see.
Going to search up a Volcanic Island, Will Majors. And Martell has initiated a battle that Majors looks like he has some interest in partaking in.
This is the whole game here. I think we're going to see a big fight from both players.
There's Spell Pierce going after the Chain Lightning. Martell can't pay just yet. So we'll see what Tom wants to do about this Spell Pierce. You see the score is 17-17, but this game is anything but tied.
Yeah. Well,
it's very close.
This is the tipping point here of the whole game.
Yeah.
If Michael loses this fight, he's way behind on the board, taking a lot of damage.
Tom looking at a daze here as another piece to protect this Chain Lightning. Pro Tour champion giving this a thought. Again, did win Pro Tour Gate Crash up in Montreal. He's going to cast a daze. Pick up the Volcanic Island. The alternate casting cost has now been satisfied. Majors will look at his hand. He's staring at a Force Will over there. And he says, daze resolves. How about a Force Will on your Chain Lightning removing the Taxing Probe that I refuse to cast?
And I think with this backup Lightning Bolt, Tom is going to be able to win the fight.
It's looking that way, all while growing Monastery Swiftspear, mind you. A couple of prowess triggers taking place. One from the Chain Lightning, one from the daze. Chain Lightning bites the dust. Majors wins that particular fight. But it doesn't look like he's going to be able to win this one. Martell going to sacrifice the Scalding Tarn. Search up the Volcanic Island.
And you can tell Michael's hand, not a lot of leftovers here, just a Batterskull and a Bolt facing down 2 threats. And Tom proving the merits of the argument he made earlier. If the Stoneforge just dies in the blue-red matchup, not the highest power level card.
There's a Lightning Bolt to make it just die. 3 in the air, Swiftspear. 3 spells were cast. That's an attack for 7. That's a healthy turn. And all of a sudden, we're heading back Major's way. Majors will draw a card. Looks like it's a copy of Treasure Cruise. This is a Lightning Bolt going after the Delver's Secrets. He's got 6 cards in his graveyard. And he's going to Treasure Cruise now. These games can change very quickly.
Yeah, before the Stoneblade versus Delver matchups, the power level of all the cards are relatively flat. Now with Treasure Cruise, someone can go from losing to winning in a much quicker shift than they used to be able to. This is an awesome turn for Michael here. He made his 4th land drop, so he's close to just being able to cast the Batterskull in his hand. Based on this turn, he can be pretty safe in assuming Tom doesn't have daze in his hand, because he would have dazed either the Treasure Cruise or the Swords to Plowshares. So if Michael draws land number 5, he might be happy just slamming the Batterskull into play and putting Tom to the test.
Remember when Tom attacked for 7 last turn and
yeah,
had a board and won that battle? Well, Treasure Cruise is a pretty powerful card. Gets Majors back into the game. He's at 9, but he's got the Batterskull that you mentioned. He's also got a lightning bolt again, so the next threat is basically taken care of with Martell. Martell's got some catching up to do now.
Yes.
There's the volcanic island from earlier that was picked up from Days.
And this is the problem with the catching up, is that Michael's draw steps are so much better than Tom's. You know, the pressure is on Tom to find something to do.
Well, now it's time for Martell to take a cruise, so he's drawn 3 cards. Delved away most of his graveyard. Martell's follow-up is the Monastery Swift Spear. This is a Gataxian Probe. That'll turn the Swift Spear into a 2-3. We'll see a Batter Skull and a Lightning Bolt. Martell will draw a card. He's already played a land for the turn. In for 2 he's going to go. Majors is going to go down to 7. Somebody is looking for land number 5.
Well, Michael's in enviable territory of lands are good and spells are good.
Brainstorm may be best. He'll start there. 1 is a Ponder. 2 is a Flooded Strand. 3 is a Lightning Bolt. All pretty good here for Majors. Got to put 2 of those back, of course.
Critically, land number 5. Setting up a Batter Skull for next turn.
Decisions here for Majors.
Looks like Michael contemplating not even trying to go for the Batter Skull next turn.
Yeah, it is a little bit interesting. He's maybe considering putting that on top and moving it towards the bottom of the deck. See, it is a rather tough decision here. It's always fun to try to watch these great players figure out what's the best way to brainstorm.
It is a hard Magic card to play with.
Yeah.
A lot of permutations, and Michael always has the option of cashing in the known for the unknown.
He can also simply say, I'm fine with drawing these cards. I even shuffle his deck with the fetch land. There's a Lightning Bolt with the Swift Spear. That's going to get off the table. There's a Flooded Strand, pass the turn back. Majors with a Bolt in hand. Not sure the way he organized the top of his library. Ponder and Batter Skull are over there. That's all we know. We'll see what his draw is next turn in just a bit, but we're heading Martell's way now. He's drawn his card for the turn. Now he's in the think tank.
And now if Tom has no defense, which appears is the case, he can either try to represent strength, just cast his stuff, and hope that Michael does not have the guts to tap out for a Batter Skull, or he can brainstorm looking for help. So this is a spot where Tom's got to try to figure out what kind of player is Michael, and what other leftovers could he have.
There's a land. It's a Flooded Strand. This is a Swift Spear. Sacrifice the Strand. Martell going to go down to 14. There's a volcanic island. Not as beautiful as the first 2.
Nope. Hopefully Tom does well in this tournament so we can replace that revised one. Get another 4 and black border.
See what he wants to do now. Swift Spear got in. He's got a brainstorm in hand. You see the Delver too. He's going to brainstorm now. So it's time to take a look at the top 3.
Well, maybe Michael might want to stop this right now.
He's going to respond by bolting the Swift Spear. So now it's 1, it's 2, it's 3. Force of Will, Delver, and a Treasure Cruise.
And
Force of Will is what the doctor ordered.
It is, and it has not been that long since Tom Treasure Cruise, and already his graveyard's back to stocked up.
6 cards in there right now. 7 with the brainstorm.
I mentioned this before. I don't know if Blue Red Delver is the best deck that plays with Treasure Cruise, but it's the best deck at maximizing Treasure Cruise. This deck is nothing but velocity.
Delver's Secrets now. That'll come into play. Martell will take a look at his graveyard. He'll see 7 cards there. Going to try to cast a Batter Skull. Will Majors is going to search up a land with a Flooded Strand. But Mr. Martell has a counter spell ready. You see our spotters say, hey, here's a Germ Token. And Tom says, I don't think so. And Tom knows the top card of his deck is a Treasure Cruise. Flipping Delver.
Not bad.
And now peeling 3. It's almost like he drew it up that way.
a clinic.
3 cards coming here for Martell. Lightning bolt among them. 3 plus 3. Oh, is that 6?
Is that exact lethal? That is exact lethal.
Sometimes he makes it look easy. Ever wonder why he's a Legacy Grand Prix champion? Neither do I. Tom Martell up a game here over Michael Majors. Blue-red Delver up 1 over Jeskai Stoneblade. We'll take a look at the sideboards. You've got Majors in front of you.
1 Council's Judgment, a Wear Tear, 2 Containment Priest, 2 Core Firewalker, 3 Flusterstorm, an Electrickery, a Pyroblast, 3 copies of Meddling Mage, and a Sword of Fire and Ice. So I like the sword in this matchup a lot. Protection from blue and red, plus shooting down little things. Very nice against a blue-red creature deck. So, you know.
Expert analysis.
We'll break it down in the video tech for you later.
Perfect.
The Sword of Fire and Ice I think is going to be good here. A copy of Pyroblast, 1 copy of Electrickery, very nice. It can either answer Delver Secrets before it flips or clean up Young Pyromancer and all of the tokens. I think Core Firewalker is very well suited for this matchup. It's very powerful against Monastery Swiftspear and Young Pyromancer, and it's not something that's very easy for Tom to kill. A lot of these lists can't kill it at all. I think that Council's Judgment's probably a little too slow for the matchup. 3 mana removal spells are not very good against 1 and 2 mana permanents. And maybe the Flusterstorms come in as well, try to fight over Treasure Cruise.
Martell's side of thing, we'll see a Null Rod, 2 copies of Sulfuric Vortex, 3 copies of Flusterstorm, a Sulfur Elemental, an Electrickery, 2 Smash Smithereens, 2 Grafdigger Skates, 2 Pyroblast, and a Hydroblast. What do you like there?
I think the Hydroblast and the Pyroblast can come in. I like bringing in some of the anti-equipment cards as well, the Null Rod and the 2 copies of Smash the Smithereens to do a lot of work in that respect. I don't know if Tom's going to want to go to something like Sulfuric Vortex. Even though Michael is the control deck in the matchup, he can go on an aggressive tilt, especially if he finds True Name Nemesis. So Sulfuric Vortex might be a little bit too risky, but I do like bringing in the soft counters alongside with the anti-equipment cards, because that's the most dangerous thing that Tom's playing against in the matchup. If Michaels is able to sneak a piece of equipment into play, especially with True Name Nemesis, Tom's going to be hard-pressed to win. We saw that game was all about Michael trying to sneak a Batterskull into play, and Tom being just able barely to win the fight over it and taking the game. So anything he can do to shore up his liability against equipment, I think is going to be really good for Tom.
And that's why we see these artifact removal spells in the sideboard of Blue-Red Delver, and a lot of decks, honestly, now. You see Smash Smithereens, again, some players going with Smelt or some other more interesting options, Wear, Tear, among the options available to get equipment off the table. You got to be able to Batterskull, you got to be able to beat Umazawashite.
And True Name Nemesis too, although Tom may not be aware that that card's in Michael's deck. Typically when you see the blue-white-red skeleton with Stoneforge Mystic, True Name Nemesis appears in some number because the combo of True Name Nemesis and equipment is so potent, but there's no guarantee.
Well, game 2 will be underway here in just a moment between Pro Tour champion Tom Martell and up-and-comer here Michael Majors. No slouch himself, but he is playing against one of the very best right now.
Platinum Pro, Pro Tour winner, Grand Prix winner.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
Surprised to actually kind of see him out here this week, and his work schedule is so busy.
Tom loves Legacy.
Yeah, he really does.
He loves the format, and he also loves winning, and Legacy Grand Prix have been very good to him.
Yes, they have. So I suppose it's not that surprising.
Coming out from the Bay Area.
Hey, he's out in the you know, the San Francisco, San Jose area. I think he flies out of SFO, so he's pretty close to San Francisco.
Oh,
it's no short flight, I'll tell you that much.
Works in Mountain View, which I believe is a little bit south of San Francisco.
You're the California guy. I don't know anything about that.
California is a big place.
It's just true. It's not small. Let's see what Majors can put together here in game number 2. Game number 1 was, you know, that kind of back and forth. It was really interesting to watch. But, you know, we talk about Tom's pace of play, and it is rather methodical. But at the same time, think about how that game ended. Everything perfect.
No resources left. Only a couple of lands in play and a 3/2 flyer, getting Michael to exact 0.
Yeah.
There were 2 critical parts of that game, which is the fight over the Stoneforge Mystic and then the fight over Batterskull. Tom was able to win both of them. If he fails either one of those tests, he loses. But his deck is pretty well equipped to win both of those fights.
As you mentioned, able to win the 2 important wars that matter at the end of the game. Delver Secrets, the last card on the table, flip, reveal Treasure Cruise. Oh, I can cast Treasure Cruise, delve my entire graveyard, draw 3. There's a Lightning Bolt, 3 + 3 is 6. Let's play a second game, shall we? Made it look pretty easy.
Yep.
As he's been known to do.
Tom just confirming that everything is good to go with the sideboard.
Always a good decision. Make sure there are 15 cards heading over there. Make sure your configuration's where you want it. Looks like he may have missideboarded a card here, so.
I'd imagine the Pro Tour where I counted my deck over and over again, 59 cards. Counted my sideboard, 15 cards. Count both over and over and over again. Look on the floor, can't find the card. Ask my opponent, they can't find it. I'm starting to panic. Opponent's getting a little annoyed because I'm looking around and my deck's not really able to present. I tell this to a judge. Judge counts it out, says there's 60 cards here.
Yep. There it is.
I counted about a half dozen times.
That's good. That's good.
59 each time.
A similar situation happened to me at Worlds on the other side. My opponent pile shuffled his deck 5 or 6 times, was kind of panicking or whatever, counted the sideboard. You know, that finally he gives himself a reaffirming, you know, head shake, and he's like, okay, there it is. We're good. We're good. So I pile shuffle his deck 61. Just, I call her because I'm trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
And he's so mad. He's like, how did I do this?
I finally got it.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
It was the reaffirming head shake that would happen. He was just like, there it is. Okay. Finally, good to go. I pile shuffle, dude. You're one over.
Almost.
Yeah, you're 1 over. I hate to be this guy, but I mean, we're in the World Championships right now. I don't know what to tell you. Better safe than sorry. Both players going to take a look at their openers. Majors is happy. Martell is too. Game number 2 underway. Flooded Strand's going to put Majors down to 19.
See there, Majors has board in the core Firewalker.
Your arch nemesis.
Oh, yeah.
Your rival.
Well, in Legacy, the bird deck can overpower a core Firewalker. Or you can just lock out these decks with Ensnaring Bridge.
There is a ponder.
But in lower power formats, it has been my arch nemesis on many an occasion.
Let's see if this will resolve. And it will, so take a look at the top 3 here. A probe, a pyroblast, and a fetch land. Majors will consult the grip, see if he likes it.
Well, he was without land number 2 in this hand. So I had to imagine he's keeping these 3 because it guarantees a land drop.
Looks like he has interest in taking probe first. That's what he'll draw. And we'll pass the turn back over to Martell. Martell will draw a card. It's a copy of Pyroblast for him as well. He'll play a Gataxian Probe. We'll take a look at Major's hand. We'll see a GT, along with a Electrickery, a Pyromancer, a Probe, a Brainstorm, and a Treasure Cruise. It's a 1-lander, Patrick.
For now.
For now.
But Tom knows that Michael pondered and didn't shuffle. So I think Tom is going to assume that Michael is drawing a land next turn.
You want to know about the power of Gataxian Probe? Seeing Electrickery will definitely change the way Martell plays this game.
Information, free spells, puts a card in your graveyard, synergizes with all the pieces of value in Legacy, you know? Filling up your graveyard with stuff, revealing spells to Delver of Secrets, and information really valuable in a format where there's so many soft counter spells and random weirdos you have to play around.
Martell with the basic Mountain before passing the turn back. A card that some like in this deck, some don't, but Martell has one of each basic this go around.
I think once you have Sulfuric Vortex in the deck, it's nice to have a Mountain, or in the sideboard. Once you're in double red territory, I like having a Mountain. Otherwise, no.
This is a Brainstorm. Martell will cross that off the list. Now it's time to see if he wants to do anything about it. We saw him draw a Pyroblast. He's going to cast that, go after the Brainstorm. See if Majors cares. I do like the way that Majors led off this turn, leading off with the Brainstorm, maybe saying, I don't have a second land.
I just don't think Tom's buying it. And I think he's willing to assume, well, Michaels can probably shuffle the deck with the fetch land that he drew, which is what you see.
And there's the Flooded Strand. We'll pass it back Martell's way. Martell will draw a card. It's a copy of Sulfuric Vortex.
Okay, interesting to see that he was willing to go deep.
But Tom does not have a second land, just kept the Mountain. Perhaps a little greedy.
Perhaps? There's no perhaps about it.
Majors will sacrifice the Flooded Strand.
I mean, with a Pyroblast and a Gataxian Probe, it's not indefensible, but that is a greedy keep.
Well, he does have plenty of red spells in his hand. Looks like he's got some protection here, and at least 1 Lightning Bolt, potentially 2, also a Chain Lightning. So
the problem is that he's not favored in the late game.
Sure.
It's not just about can he defend himself, it's can he get something proactive going before Michaels overpowers him with True Name Nemesis, with Batterskull. It's not enough for Tom to kill the stuff that Michael does. He has to do something proactive.
Young Pyromancer. There's Gataxian Probe, Bolt in response. He'll still get the token. The umpire master will now be off the table most likely. And it is. Gataxian Probe's going to resolve. Now we can see what Martell kept, which is 2 Chain Lightnings, a Brainstorm, a Treasure Cruise, a Delver, a Secret, and a Sulfuric Vortex was the draw last turn. So that's what he's working with. Somebody needs some lands, preferably one that taps for blue mana.
Although I believe all the lands left in his deck qualify as such.
He does have an island along with 4 Volcanic Islands, 4 Scalding Tarns, 3 Flooded Strands, and 3 Polluted Deltas. So if he does draw a land, blue mana will be available. Back to Martell we go. Looks like he missed. May have some interest in Chain Lightning this token, though. And I like it.
Sure. I mean, he has to do it eventually. And with Treasure Cruise, you know, the sooner that he gets stuff in his graveyard, the more likely he is to fire it off on the cheap when he draws blue mana.
Treasure Cruise has certainly changed the way that you will play games now, as here's a Ponder, a Lightning Bolt, a Force of Will, and a Core Firewalker. What Majors is looking at. Firewalker very interesting in this situation.
Core Firewalker plus Jite already in hand.
It's a combo.
But can't cast the Core Firewalker, so gonna let it go.
Only 1 white mana in play right now for Majors. Firewalker is an interesting inclusion in this deck. It's definitely very powerful. The pro red matters quite a bit, but you do pay costs. It is hard to cast.
Yep. But keep in mind, these blue-red Delver decks, no wastelands.
Yep.
So yes, it's challenging to cast, but you know that your Tundras aren't going to get blown up and you're going to be stranded with no way to cast it. Maybe it takes a while, but that's okay.
Take a draw. Lightning Bolt was already in his hand. Looks like he picked up a copy of Chain Lightning. Very similar artwork. So it does look like a Lightning Bolt this go around. Take a look at the graveyard. 7 cards down there. Not going to cruise, though. May have to discard if he does cruise, so.
I think he's willing to trade with Tom and then try to get himself in a spot where he's low R on resources and then can Treasure Cruise.
See what Majors has this time. Well, there's cruise.
Michael would have to discard a hand size anyway, so.
Cruise is good. An island, a Tundra, and a Ponder is what Michael has found. This allows him to play his land for the turn. Maybe do a little something else, too. There's that. Plenty of cards in his hand. He'll cast a Ponder. Take a look at the top 3. Flooded Strand, a Force of Will, and a Young Pyromancer among them. Looks like he's got some interest in keeping here.
With a Jite in hand and so many spells, I feel like Young Pyromancer is just awesome. He can't do it this turn, but next turn he might be able to start doing some real work.
Yeah, he kept the Force of Will. That allowed him to protect himself. He does have a blue card to remove. Looks like Michael does have to discard a card here, however. This was maybe the fear. Maybe he has 7. Looks like he might just have exactly 7.
No, it looks like he's on 8 cards.
Yeah, he's on 8 and has to discard a card. Considering maybe a Lightning Bolt, perhaps select Trickery.
He's got a lot of bolts.
Yep. Lightning Bolt is the card that is discarded. Martell already drawn his card for the turn. He'll discard a Treasure Cruise, pass the turn back over to Majors. Majors draws a copy of Young Pyromancer. I knew that was coming. You see the island in his hand. There's this. Here's that. Back Martell's way. Gataxian Probe, it looks like, is the draw. He'll fire that off. Is Majors willing to show him the grip? He's got a Spell Pierce.
He knows that. I think he knows that that's Tom's draw because he hasn't probed in a while.
Yep.
So there's an argument for saying, well, I'm not going to let you draw a land this turn. But I think at this point, Michaels is more concerned about protecting the Young Pyromancer than having Tom not find land number 2.
Brainstorm Martell's draw.
Especially since there's only the 1 draw step that he gets here. It's possible he just misses again, and then you get to keep the Spell Pierce.
There's Chain Lightning. That's going to get the Spell Pierce. Here comes an Elemental token. Back Major's way we're going to go. He's going to draw that Flooded Strand he knows about. That's land number 5 for Forcible, conveniently.
Or Jite equipped with Pyroblast / Spell Pierce available.
I've seen worse spots to be in. It's time to suit him up. In for 3 we go. 2 charge counters coming on the Jite. Martell will draw a card. Scalding Tarn.
So lucky.
Yep.
Top deck's a land and everything.
Basically the luckiest guy in the world.
I know.
We'll see if he can work his way out of what looks to be a rather large problem. And start by sacrificing the fetch line, go down to 12. There's Volcanic Island. And Mr. Martell has quite a bit of work to do.
And Michael with a grip full of bolts and counter spells. This is going to be tough. Not to mention Jitte.
That card's pretty good too, I guess. Going to sacrifice the Flooded Strand here. Will Majors in response to the Ponder. I think somebody's got a plan for their Pyroblast.
Potentially Spell Pierce here. But yeah, I think it makes sense to hold on to the other counters as long as you can, because the Pyroblast is a little narrow.
Time to untap. It's a draw. True Name Nemesis comes rolling off the top of the deck. That's a blue card to go along with the Force of Will. If the alternate casting cost is what Michael does desire. An attack for 4. See if Martell wants to make a move potentially here. He's just consulting his grip. Major's looking at his. He'll pump once. He'll pass priority. It'll be damage total is 4, 5, 6. Up to 3 charge counters here. And you can see in Major's hand, he's got the Bolt, the Electrickery, along with the Force of Will and a True Nemesis. It's a wrap. Martell will pack it up. Michael Major's going to tie things up here against Tom Martell, Jeskai Stoneblade, and a red Delver going to game number 3.
I like not casting the True Name Nemesis there. Michael can't really lose either way, I think, but he easily has the win on board. So no reason to leave the Force of Will shields down.
Do have quite an interesting result for you guys right now. A little message out there from Ely Cassis, Legacy Aficionado, and for my money has the best collection of any player I've ever seen. I don't know about you, but Ely's collection is, boy, is it something.
Well, he's a dealer, has been playing for a very long time, and cares about what his legacy decks look like.
Yes, he does.
The sum of this means that his collection is excellent. You and I got to bat a little bit. You borrowed his deck to just get in some games, and I could tell you were a little nervous handling the cards.
It's a lot to take on when you're sitting down with a player who clearly values his cards very highly. He's a lot of his cards are miscut, which makes them more valuable. Most of his dual lands were, or they were a foreign black border, or basically whatever is the nicest edition of a card you could have, he has it.
I was blown away. I was talking with Anthony Lowry, and I was sitting next to a friend of his who was sleeving up a black-green Entomb Loam kind of attrition control deck. And the street value of this guy's deck had to be north of $15,000.
Yeah.
It was all foil, Japanese, everything. Basic lands were all summer. I mean, this was impressive. Also, there's just random cards like Chains of Mephistopheles in his deck that are worth quite a bit of money. It was impressive.
Cassis's deck, for the record, the deck that we got to play against you. You were playing Burn, I was playing his. It's kind of a Grixis mid-range deck. I don't want to say Grixis Delver. Just doesn't feel right. He doesn't have Delver in his deck. He's got Young Pyromancer, a couple copies of Baleful Strix. Dak Faden is making an appearance there. He's 6-0 so far.
Dak Faden is a dealer.
His deck, we've talked about, Treasure Cruise decks, and Martell's playing quite a good one. I think that Ely's deck is the best Treasure Cruise deck I've seen so far.
If you're just looking at putting stuff in the graveyard and drawing proactive things, it's better than Blue-Red Delver, which I didn't think was really possible. But
I see so many cards.
You see a lot of cards. And Dak Faden, it finds Treasure Cruise, puts stuff in the graveyard.
And if you think your batter skull's good,
steal that thing.
Yep.
Best thief in the multiverse, I believe he's known as.
Well, he might be. He does have a copy of Notion Thief in his main deck this weekend. Oh, the stories he may be able to tell with that.
Very good against Treasure Cruise.
Good in combination with Dak Faden. Dak Faden's Faithless Looting, it targets.
Oh, you just go after them?
You get to draw 2, which means they have to discard 2, and we get to draw 2.
Yeah.
How about that? That's a pretty hard
That is a combo.
I've gotten to do that a couple of times. Your opponent, they don't really like to play anymore after that.
Well, that's because they don't get to play anymore. They're done for.
That's correct, yes. So we'll see if he can keep it going. Maybe perhaps we'll have him in our feature match soon here, as his deck is beautiful and his deck looks to be pretty good as well. But right now we have Michael Majors and Tom Martell here, both sitting at 5-0 in round number 6 here from New Jersey. Martell going to make sure everything is good to go before presenting. And we'll have game number 3 underway for you in just a moment.
Tom having some issues here presenting. Quality play at the table, that does not elude him.
No.
Making sure there's 15 cards in the sideboard and 60 cards in his main deck, before he goes into games 2 and 3. This has proved problematic.
Methodical.
Thoughtful.
Ponderous.
Ponderous.
I like ponderous the most, I think, of the bunch. It's funny, I've known Tom for a while now. I've got to watch a lot of his matches, and, you know, there are few players that I want in the tank against me less than Tom. Where it's just like, oh, his brain is going, and he's trying to figure things out. How do I distract him? What do I do? What can I do to make him stop thinking? Because once he starts thinking, he always seems to figure it out. It just takes him a second. But if game 1 is any indication, he gets it right more often than not. That game just not really able to operate. Kept a risky hand, didn't work out for him. We'll see if he does that again. Looks like he's going to keep. Majors. We'll take a look at his starting 7. He's got a decision making. You can see a lightning bolt over there among the cards.
Looks like a hand that only land maybe a Tundra.
Now, it looks like he's got a couple of copies of lightning bolt, of swords, force. Looks like maybe the land count is a little bit low, but he will keep it. Game number 3 underway. Well, this is why this is the best card, because now we get to know exactly what it is. Okay, for a minute there I thought I didn't see a land. There's a Scalding Tarn in between those 2 lightning bolts, along with, again, the 2 bolts, the Force of Will, Stoneforge Mystic, Treasure Cruise, and a Swords of Plowshare.
So no cantrip to improve this hand, and I believe Michael's list with no copy of Plateau. So we can't get red and white mana off of the Scalding Tarn, but this is a hand with a lot of upside. If he draws land number 2, he's got a lot of removal spells, a Stoneforge Mystic, and he'll be able to work his way towards Treasure Cruise very quickly.
I love these risky keeps, and then I love when someone gets probed.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, let's see what you were thinking about over there. All right, got it. Makes more sense now. There's an island, a beautiful one at that, Delver's Secrets. We're heading back Major's way. Majors will draw. It's a copy of Pyroblast. That's not so bad.
Tom on the Euro Island, the Venice Island.
My favorite one.
It is beautiful.
Did you know that many moons ago I could have bought those for $2 a piece? And I almost pulled the trigger on that. I almost bought 30 of them for $2 a piece.
You wouldn't even have to be in the booth. You'd be on a beach somewhere in the Bahamas.
I have my own island. So I'd have an island in Venice.
Yeah,
that's what I'd have.
Sipping on a pina colada. Instead, you had to hang out with me every weekend.
Yeah, there are worse things. Not much worse, but there are worse things. There's a ponder. Take a look at the top 3. I was just a poor college kid who wanted some sweet islands, man.
Yep.
Little did I know. Going to keep with the ponder. Take that card. Scalding Tarn is what it looks like was added to Martell's hand. He'll play a Scalding Tarn, sacrifice it. He's moving and grooving now.
Back when Legacy was blowing up a couple of years ago, I'm like, what's a good thing to spec on? And I eventually decided Beta Duels, because I'm like, you need a bunch of them. They're sweet. So I bought a couple Beta Tundras for $200 a piece. A couple months later, someone offered me $350 a piece for them. I'm like, man, I'm a genius. Sold them. A year later, I don't even want to know, you know, 2 years later.
You were a genius then. How about that?
I didn't see it all the way through.
Yeah. There's the Monastery Swiss Beer. Red zone in for 1. Martell put Majors down to 18. Majors will draw a Volcanic Island. No white source of mana yet, but a second land isn't the worst thing in the world.
I mean, I'm sure Michael will take it, but he can really only play defense until he finds a white source of mana for the Stoneforge Mystic. Although at this pace, he can get himself towards Treasure Cruise if Tom continues to play creatures that he can bolt away or something that can be targeted by a Pyroblast.
Delver's Secrets to draw from Martell. He's got a Chain Lightning Young Pyromancer over there. Pretty interesting hand. How to sequence it all, that's the tough part. Well, he will take some time to try to figure it out, that's for sure. Martell crossing off the contents of Major's hand that he knew about. Here's the Delver. That's another test spell. I think the prize here for Martell is the young Pyromancer. That's what he's going to try to clean up things with.
Yeah.
Majors with the Spell Pierce. He does have a Pyroblast here for this Delver. We'll take a look at the top card. That is a Smash Smithereens. This is a Pyroblast with the information. We're still in Martell's upkeep.
And Smash is very good for Michael to know about.
We'll make sure we're in the right spot in this game, which is in the upkeep after Delver's Secret Trigger has resolved. Before the card goes to Martell's hand.
Once the trigger, if you allow the trigger to resolve, you can't respond to the Insectile Aberration becoming a 3-2 because it's all part of the trigger resolving. But you can stop Tom in the spot before he draws a card. So Michael gets to see what he's drawing there.
It's a fun little interaction.
Yeah.
One of the many in Legacy. Young Pyromancer. That's the prize. At least Martell would like for it to be. Majors, looking at a Force of Will, gonna remove Spell Pierce. So no Pyromancer here from Martell either. Everything he's tried has failed so far. He'll just pass the turn back over to Michael. Michael will draw a card. True Name Nemesis.
That's a brutal draw there for Michael. I mean, a land allows him to Treasure Cruise. A cantrip likely allows him to do the same thing, but True Name Nemesis, one of the pure blank draws on that turn. And now Tom's the first one who gets to resolve a Treasure Cruise as a result.
And he will. 3 cards coming here for Martell. Looks like Monastery Swift Spear among them. True Name Nemesis, as great a card as it is, one of, if not almost certainly, the worst draw there in Major's deck.
And because of the Smash and Smithereens, it's not like Michael can go on some sort of equipment plan just yet.
Scalding Tarn comes rolling off the top. That's much better for Majors. That'll allow him to go find a Tundra.
Though, if Michael is able to get this True Name into play, Tom can't kill it. You know, you can Pyroblast it with it on the stack or what have you, but or use any other counter spell, but
Stoneforge Mystic going to be placed in the stack. Don't forget, Majors knows about the Smash and Smithereens.
Exactly.
So we'll see how he decides to search for equipment. He's going to go with Batterskull.
Well, this is awesome for Michael because he can just pass with Stoneforge Mystic up. If Tom ever puts his shields down, then Michael can go, okay, put a Batterskull into play, leave up 3 mana. Now it's really hard to get this off the table. If Tom does nothing, Michael can go about his business doing other things at the end of Tom's turn. So even though there is a Smash in Tom's hand, Michael can make life pretty hard on Tom right now with the Stoneforge Mystic.
That'll be Major's turn. We'll see what Martell can put together on his. He's got a lot of cards in his hand. There's a Flutter Strand. This looks like it may be a Chain Lightning, and it is. Stoneforge Mystic, kindly lead. Martell said it just dies. He's not wrong. It's died quite a few times. Major will draw another copy of Swords of Plowshares. The big question here is, does Majors want to try to resolve a True Nemesis, or perhaps it's time to go for a cruise? As he asks Martell, how many cards do you have in your hand? And Martell says a whole lot. Looks to be around 6 of them. And Majors, no interest in casting a spell. It looks like he's just going to pass back to Martell. Perhaps a little draw go is in order here, Patrick.
Wait for Tom to tap out for something. Eventually, Tom has to put a threat into play. Michael can react to it with the plow in his hand, and then maybe get a window for this Treasure Cruise. But if he runs a Treasure Cruise into a Red Elemental Blast or Pyroblast, it's a disaster for Michael.
Swift Spear into the red zone. Majors goes down to 15. Swords of Plowshare is going to go after that. Martell will go up to 18. Majors will draw and find a copy of Stoneforge Mystic. That might be the kind of card he's looking for, and he will play it. Martell will consult the grip. See a Chain Lightning over there. I'm just going to give it some thought before maybe letting this resolve, as Martell does have a copy of Brainstorm in his hand, being very patient with the powerful blue instant. Looks like it's time to cast it now with the fetch land in play too. So 3 cards coming from Martell. Volcanic Island, another Brainstorm, and a Lightning Bolt is what he's found. Time to put 2 back.
So even though on the surface it looks like things are going pretty bad for Michael, he's down on cards, he's got really nothing going on. The same is true for Tom's side of the table. There's nothing proactive going on. There's not that many threats in the deck. And as the game extends, Michael's deck is, generally speaking, going to be better draw step to draw step. Because if Michael's able to resolve True Name Nemesis, Tom can't get it off the table. If Michael is able to find a way to finagle this batter skull, I know that's going to be a challenge because of Smash Smithereens, but it's at least something Tom has to play around.
You should mention if he can find a way.
Exactly.
It's something Tom has to have in the back of his mind the entire game. This GT as well. All cards he has to be concerned about.
There it is, the scourge of creature decks everywhere.
A card I'm a very big fan of.
Really? This feels like it's done way more damage to the decks that you play.
No. I want a pizza Q with this bad boy. I like Kumazawa Shite. I played a very bad Flow Rock deck. I made all my crappy creatures good.
Put it on Troll Sig. What are they supposed to do about it?
That's it. Wrap it up.
Put it on a Thrun. Can't counter it. Can't kill it.
Thrun wasn't a card then. Would have actually been nice. I had Ravenous Baloth instead. Not exactly the same. I did suit up a Dark Heart Sliver though.
Oh, good luck. Supposed to do about that?
I'm basically a 30 then.
Right.
Brainstorm going to resolve. There's Occluded Delta. Martell going to cast Lightning Bolt. Get that out of here. He thought about passing it back.
Something to be mindful of right now is the round clock. You see it taken away
the
there?
same thing.
We're under 3.5 minutes here, and neither one of these players close to generating a lot of meaningful pressure. Both of these decks way more reactive than proactive post-board.
There's Volcanic Island there for Martell. Make it 2. It's like he knows he needs to get a move on, so he's going to tap some mana finally here. There's a Cruise. Got a lot of cards down there. He's going to delve away. So it looks like 3 cards coming here for Tom. Absolutely. Force of Will among them. Couple of burn spells too. We're going to go back to Majors. Majors will draw. It's a copy of Tundra. Is he willing to play a spell just yet? That's the question. He's been very patient.
Well, he respects the possibility of a Pyroblast out of Tom's deck here. And if he takes his whole turn just running something into a Pyroblast, that is a mess.
Treasure Cruise for Majors. Pyroblast for Martell. That may have been the test spell. There's a True Name Nemesis. Does it resolve? Martell is looking at a handful of red cards and a Force of Will. It's in.
And as the additional kicker, draws Force of Will as his draw step, and now his hand is just a removal, 2 Force of Wills, and no clock.
Well, no clock in a weird way. I think we might be going upstairs, Burn Man.
We can start doming, I guess.
Well, there's 3. Put you to 12. How about 6? Put you to 9. Any more?
Well, we know he's got Smash in hand.
And a Lightning Bolt.
Well, Michael knows about the Smash. He's not putting an artifact into play unless Tom's tapped out.
Yeah, he could have catched you to that turn, but absolutely not. In for 3, he's going to come with a True Name Nemesis. He might just try to ride this to victory now.
He's got a Source of Plowshare, Tom, with no creature in play, so he's got the first one checked.
Martell's going to play a 5th land. That's important, of course, because of Force of Will. He can hardcast that bad boy.
I mean, that might matter, but Michael's got the kill in play.
Though it is important to mention, Martell 13 right now. If Tom is to sacrifice that Scalding Tarn, that's a full turn off the clock.
He's going to avoid it at all costs.
A Ponder here for Majors. Take a look at 3 cards. A couple of lands. Those probably don't interest him. We'll see, though. He'll shuffle it away. Basic Plains, Basic Island, and Fetch Land.
And no good. I think Michael is looking for more bolts would be nice. Another copy of True Name Nemesis is probably worth a gamble. But
try to close this out as fast as he can.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you see the round clock here. We get 5 untimed turns.
Mystery cards to Ponder. In for 3. Martell's at 10. See if Major's going to cast his other Ponder or hold steady. He'll hold steady. Pass it back to Martell. Martell draws a copy of Scalding Tarn.
And I like holding steady because it's an issue of time.
Back Major's way. Beatdowns puts you to 7. Will he ponder now?
I think it's too big of a risk for time.
He'll give it a shot, though. Take a look at 3 of them. An Island, a Stone Forge, and Electrickery. He'll shuffle. Majors right now turn 0. Mystery card. Let's see what it is. It's an Island. He'll play it. He'll pass the turn back. Martell, if our time is correct, should be turn number 1 here. We will get confirmation in just a moment. He's turn 1. He'll have 1, 3, and 5. Majors will have 2 and 4. And for Michael, that might be bad news, actually.
Exactly. I mean, it's possible this ponder offsets the clock in a bad way for Michael.
And that's all part of it.
He passes to Tom. If time is called during Tom's turn, that's turn 0. Michael gets 1, 3, and 5. As it stands now, Michael's got to find a way to get an extra point of damage.
Martell will pass the turn back. It's turn 2. Brainstorm the draw here for Majors. In for 3. Put Martell down to 4. He'll just pass the turn back. Martell will draw. It's a lightning bolt. You can tell Martell, yeah, there's no world he's sacrificing one of these fetch lands. He can't. He's turn 3. He'll pass the turn back. Majors.
Which means that he can't hard cast the Force of Will. And even all casting Force of Will, that's 3 life.
Yep.
Or sorry, 1 life rather. So he can't even Force of Will now.
Brainstorm time. Michael knows it's his last turn. Tarn, Strand, Mesa, Blech.
No help.
Couple of cards going back here in just a second for Michael. The interesting thing here is how many cards does he have in his graveyard? In for 3. Puts you to 1. Because he has a Treasure Cruise in his hand. He just passes the turn back. Perhaps he doesn't have very many lightning bolts to draw to. I guess that's the question.
I mean, I would be surprised if they were completely sided out of his deck because they're good removal spells against Tom's early threats, but if Michael has no bolts, there's nothing to cruise for. He has nothing else to do.
Don't have a great look at how many cards he has in his graveyard. You can see some of these are exiled, some of them are in the graveyard, as he's already cast a Treasure Cruise this game. But for Michael, you got your opponent 1. You got to find 1. Looks like Martell has some minute turn effects, says Bull U. Push you to 6. How about Bull Chew? Something to think about.
Tom still has the possibility of getting to a kill.
All right, push you to 3.
Still got to draw.
Force of Will is what he's found. He's looking at a hand of all blue cards to smash the smithereens that would get it done. It's kind of that shoulder shrug. I can't do anything. I can't kill you. You can't kill me. I'd have you dead. I don't know if you want to concede or not. They'll have the conversation.
Yep.
That much we know. But we are going to come back to the booth, and when we do have a final result for you guys, we'll let you know once we do find out. But for now, these players will decide on if they will draw or if Martell will give the W over to Majors, who looks like he would win that game, give an extra turn, but this all harkens back to that ponder you're
exactly. Especially if Michael has no bolts left in his deck. If he's digging for a win, then go ahead and ponder. But in the spot that he's at, he's got to be pretty mindful of the clock, and it looks as though a draw was the conclusion to the match.
Yep.
And you know, it's not just about playing the turns correctly. The clock's a factor too. The players can't see it. They have a time extension. But that ponder there, that ended up setting Michael back a full turn. As you see, turn 5 expires. Tom's at 1, and all Michael needs to do is untap, draw, hit you with your nemesis. He moves. Oh, appears otherwise.
Tom changed his mind.
Tom changed his mind.
Tom decided, hey, it looked like you were going to win, so Martell does concede to Michael Majors.
And it's not like a draw is that helpful in that spot because the record is 7-2 to get to day 2.
Yep.
So for the purposes of making day 2, a draw is good as a loss unless you go 6-0-3,
yep,
which hopefully, you know, neither of these players are really striving for. So Tom, seeing that he was dead next turn, decides to be a nice guy and back it up to Michael Majors.
I think part of the reason, too, that you might see Martell concede in that situation is because I don't think he wants to be in the draw bracket with this particular deck. The draw bracket, especially in the Legacy tournament, makes you think about either Stoneblade-esque decks like what he's just played against, or the very slow and plodding Miracles.
And in Legacy tournaments, one draw often begets additional draws,
yes,
because once you're in the bracket, you're playing against slower players playing slower decks, and that can be a death sentence.